Namaste. I make mention of you. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, translated by James Haughton Woods. Moreover, pleasure and pain are attached to passion and aversion. The latter are necessary conditions for pleasure and pain, since pleasure and pain are not possible in the absence of these, that is, passion and aversion. Furthermore, it is impossible to say that wherein a man is pleased or disgusted is not to him, as the case may be, either a pleasure or a pain. So this soil of the self, sprinkled with the water of the hindrances, becomes a field propagating the fruit of karma. Thus, it is true that the hindrances cooperate with the latent deposit of karma for producing also the after effects of the fruits. So when the deposits of karma, when the hindrances are quite cut off, the latent deposits are deprived of this aid. Therefore, although the latent deposits are endless and their period of ripening is unsettled, still, when in their conditions as seeds, they are burned by elevation, prasamkhyana, they cannot be in a position to bear fruit. The same expression is made clear by the comment in the words, while exist. With regard to the same period, to the same point, he gives a simile, just as the chaff, although they have their chaff, their conditions as seed is burned by heat, sveda, and in other ways. He applies the simile to the point to be illustrated by saying, similarly, if it be objected that the hindrances cannot be removed because no really existing things are removed, he replies in the words, nor seed in the condition of having been burned by the elevation. He shows the threefold character of fruition in the words and this. Fruition is that which is brought to fruition or brought to perfection by karma. The first point under discussion 1 and 2 deems the unity of karma to be fixed and considers whether births are one or more than one. The second, 3 and 4, however, deems the manifoldness to be fixed and considers whether births are one or more than one. Thus, there are 4 alternative vikalpa. Of these, he refutes the first with the words, now it is not true that one karma is the cause of one birth. He asks, why so? He gives the answer by saying, from time without beginning. See, if we're talking about causing births and causing births and causing births, well, what causes the first birth? These same reactions don't prove a birth before the first birth. So, if the karma accumulated by each birth one after the other, in time without beginning, and therefore innumerable, which remains over after the karma, which has been made to dwindle in each life, one after the other, has been deducted, the world would feel discouragement when this is prohibited. What he means to say is this, since the dwindling of karma is broken by intervals, virala, and since karma is produced in abundance and latent deposits, pressing one against the other and springing up incessantly in breathless haste towards their own fruition. For this reason, even a very clever man should not determine the order of the results. Thus, discouragement as regards the following up of meritorious acts would be inflicted upon everybody. He rejects the second alternative in the words, neither is one karma the cause of more than one birth. He asks, why is this? He gives the answer by saying, of more than one birth. If a single karma, only belonging to ahita, more than one birth, is the cause of a fruition which characterizes more than one birth, then a lack of time would be inflicted upon the remaining karma, and that too would be prohibited. Thus, insofar as karma would be fruitless, there would be the likelihood that it would not be followed up, and if there would be discouragement on the ground that there is no order of fruition limited in time, the yata, in case one karma is to be uprooted in one's life, how much more there would be in case one karma must be uprooted during more than one life, for then, since there is no chance, one would infer that there would be no time in the future for the fruition of the present karma, and thus again discouragement would follow. He refutes the third alternative with the words, neither is more than one karma the cause of more than one birth. He gives the reason for this in the word this, since for those who are not yogins, it is impossible that more than this one birth should occur simultaneously and must be supposed to occur successively. For if 1,000 karmas could simultaneously generate 1,000 births, there would be, since 1,000 karmas would have dwindled away, time for the fruition of the remainder, and the order of results limited in time. But there is no such simultaneity of births. Having thus rejected the three propositions, he accepts as the result of the process of elimination the proposition which remains to the fact that more than one karma is the cause of one birth. As he says in the words, the result is birth. The compound between birth and the end of life means in the interval that is between the two, both birth and the end of life. This accumulation is diverse because it gives forth results diversified by pleasures and pains. That is dominant, which will give the result with absolute intensity and immediately, whereas that is subordinate, which gives its result after a delay. The ending of life is death, made manifest by it by means of being brought into the presence of that which tends to produce its effects by one single impulse, means simultaneously growing compact or rolled together into one lump in relation to the effect to be produced. That is the next birth. It produces one birth only, and not more than one birth, and this birth is the human or some other state. And this birth receives its length of life from that same karma would mean that its life is limited by various periods of time, and again, in that same length of life, that same karma, it attends to its kind of experience, would mean that a direct experience of pleasure and of pain is attained. Thus, the latent deposit of karma, since it is the source of birth and of the length of life and of the kind of experience, it is said to have threefold fruition. He sums up the main statement in the words, consequently, this latent deposit of karma is said to have its limit in one existence. Having one existence is one existence. This compound is in accordance with Panini's Sutra 2.1.49, beginning with the words, a temporal antecedent, etc. Determination, ika, is in the sense of possession. Matbarthiya. Thus the meaning of the compound is one who has existence. Elsewhere the reading is ikad bhavika. In this case, The dak termination ika, in the sense of existing in, is added to the word one existence. Then the meaning would be that the existing is limited to one birth, thus having announced his main statement, namely, that this karma, which has its limit in one existence, has a threefold fruition. He now distinguishes the three different kinds of fruition, which belong to the karma that is to be felt in this seen birth, and that is a part of this present world. Eihika, by the word seen. He refers, of course, to Nadishvara, whose length of life in a human birth was cut off at 8 years. Here was a particular kind of merit. Produced by a vehement method of keen intensity. The merit had two fruitions, and that it was the source of the length of life and of the kind of experience. But in the case of Nahusa, since the length of life had been determined by a karma which led him to the attainment of Indra's position, there was a particular kind of demerit leading only by a kind of enjoyment by reason of the contrary karma coming from his striking Agastya with his heel. An objector asks, have the subconscious impressions from the hindrances, like a latent deposited karma, their limit in one existence? And if the subconscious impressions of the experiences of the fruition of the karma are favorable to the pointing out of the kind of experience, then a human being reduced to a body of a beast would not experience punjita, which is proper to his species. In reply to this, he says, the karma from the hindrances to his species. The karma from his hindrances, having a fixed form, samrjita, means rolled together in one lump. He describes the subconscious impression as such in order to distinguish it from right action, dharma, and from wrong action by saying subliminal impressions which, in order to state certain exceptions to the general proposition that the latent deposit of karma has its limit in a single existence, he prepares the ground by saying, but that which. Just like Nietzsche, we're kind of called to think of, let's live this life as if this life exists for us to live this life, right? I'm not thinking of a quote, but single existence, but that which. By the word but, he shows that there is a distinction from the subconscious impressions. The limitation of having a limit in a single existence is that which belongs only to a fruition, which is to be felt in a birth, this seen life, and which has a limit in time, whereas the fruition is not to be felt in this seen life, does not have the limit in time, which has its limit in a single existence. Of what kind, then, is fruition, which is not limited in time? He asks the reason in words. Why so? He tells the reason by words, because he gives one outcome, gate, in the words, is finished. The second, in the words, dominant. The third, in the words, has a limit in time. Of these three, he analyzes the first by saying, oh, these three is finished. Oh, of these three is finished. The F is partially cut off. Other than the karmas of the mendicant, some nyasan, which are neither bright nor dark. There are only three karmas, the dark and the bright dark and the bright. Now, in this world, a latent deposit of bright karma, to be obtained by self-castigation and by recitation and other means, when one has uprisen in the mind, is the annihilator of dark karma, which has not yet given its fruit, and because there is no distinction between dark and the dark bright, you must suppose that it is the annihilator of the many-colored, that is, the dark bright karma, by reason of the conjunction of this last with the dark part. What, with reference to the same exalted Vyasa, cites the sacred word when he says, with regard to which this, verily indeed karmas should be known to be by twos and twos, that is the dark and the dark bright. Thus the mass made of merit destroys. Such is the construction of the sentence. By repeating the word twos, he indicates that there is a very great number. In reply to the question belonging to whom, he says belonging to a sinful. In other words, belonging to a sinful man. What is it that destroys? To this he replies, a single mass made of merit, because a collection includes units of the collection, samuhin. Thus, the bright, latent deposit of karma is described as the third. What he means to say is this: the bright latent deposit of karma, which is to be obtained by methods which are free from injury to others, is of such a kind, we may say, that although it is single, it destroys dark and dark bright latent deposits of karma, which are absolutely opposed, even when they are in great numbers. The word then, that, means therefore. The word which thou is middle, because Vedic. The rest is easy, and so we see, atra, that the power of the uprising of the bright karma, and the karma of the stomach moving means I must eat, and the dark latent deposits of karma, which are absolutely opposed even when they are in great numbers. The word then, tat, means therefore. The word which thou is middle, because Vedic. The rest is easy, and so we may see, atra, the power and the uprising of the bright karma is so indescribably great that it alone makes the other cease to be. But one could not say that they cease because of the pain resulting from recitations and other right actions. For a wrong action, dharma, does not have as its opposite pain in general, but only that particular kind of pain which is the effect of itself, that is, the wrong action. Now the pain resulting from recitations and other right actions is not their effect. And if this pain resulting from recitations and other right actions is supposed to be the effect of this wrong action, then it is needless to make special prescriptions of recitations and other right actions, because then these recitations and right actions could be produced utpatti merely by the help of those wrong actions. And if this wrong action should not produce anutpatte, the pain which results from recitations and other right actions, then the cooking pot, hell, and other pains are specially prescribed, because the wrong actions must result in something, and because if hells and other pains be not specially prescribed, these hells would never be produced at all. Yes, be very careful of this. I am pleasing because I have been put in a good situation, or I'm not pleasing because I'm not in a good situation. No gospel prosperity. Everything's a test, right? Thus, all is foursquare. He analyzes the second outcome in the word dominant, in the dominant karma, as for instance in the jyotistoma and similar sacrifices, that which is accessory anga karma to this, namely, the killing of the animal, is cast away into the dominant karma. For these are two effects of killing and the other acts, since it is prescribed by tradition insofar as it is accessory to the dominant karma. It assists, since killing is forbidden by the rule, let no living being be killed. It's needless. We see then that killing, because it is performed as accessory to the dominant karma, and not as being the dominant, ought not to immediately drag, and independently of the dominant karma, to generate its own fruition, a useless result, but it remains rendering assistance to the dominant karma, the fruition of which has already commenced, and when rendering assistances to the dominant karma, it remains, with reference to its own effect, as seed only, and is cast away into the dominant karma, with reference to which it has been said by Panchika, the slight admixture of the invisible influence, apurva, which is the dominant karma resulting from the jyotistoma and other sacrifices, with the invisible influence resulting from the killing of the animal and similar acts, and producing what is not desired, anartha. This admixture may be removed, for by doing a certain amount of penance, it may be removed. Or should a man heedlessly not have gone through the penance, the slight admixture of guilt comes to fruition at the time of the fruition of the dominant karma. In spite of all this, whatever undesired result be generated by this accessory invisible influence may be overlooked. For the fortunate Kuchala, plunging deep into the great pool of the nectar of pleasure, brought near by the gathering together of merit, overlooking the slight spark of the fire of pain, brought about by very little evil. Hence, the slight admixture is not enough or adequate to remove or cause to dwindle good fortune or great merit. He asks, why not? The answer is this good fortune. In case of me, the meritorious, much other good fortune exists, the fruition of dominant karma, beginning with the initiatory rites and ending with the donations. Where this admixture is very slight, it will make even in heaven the result of it a slight commingling of pain, that is, a slight reduction from the heaven which, although its beginning is gained by mixed merit, is in itself quite untouched by pain. He analyzes the third outcome in the word limited in time. The promises here is conceived as being extremely powerful, but not as having accessories, and it is powerful insofar as the fruition is without limit of time, because there is no opportunity for its fruition at any one time. But in the case of the dominant karma, the fruition of which is without limit of time, there is a weakness, because there is an opportunity for its fruition at some other time. The continuance is for a long time, is only in the condition of seed, but not as actively helping the dominant karma, because the latter is independent. It is objected. It has been stated that the latent deposit of karma is by the ending of life made manifest at one point of time only, whereas now you say that it continues a long time. How then is the latter statement not in opposition to the previous statement? With this in mind he asks, how was this? He answers in the words, not in this seen life. The singular number denotes a class. He determines the outcome of that which is different from this by the words on the contrary, not in this seen life. The rest is easy. Yeah, it's so easy. 14. These fruitions have joy or extreme anguish as results in accordance with the quality of their causes, whether merit or demerit. These, that is, birth and length of life and kind of experience. Those with the merit as cause have pleasure as a result. Those with demerit as cause have pain as a result. Just as the nature of this pain is counteractive, so for the yogin, even at the moment of pleasure in an object, there is nothing but counteractive pain. It has been stated that karma is rooted in hindrances, and that the fruitions are rooted in karma. Now the question is, of what are the fruitions the root, since you say that they are to be renounced? In reply to this, he says, 14. These fruitions have joy or extreme anguish as results in these have joy or extreme anguish as results in accordance with the quality of their causes, whether merit or demerit. He explains the sutra in the words these, that is, birth and length of life, and kind of experience, although birth and length of life, since they precede joy and extreme anguish, do have their results. Do have the latter as the results, whereas the kind of experience follows the rise in consciousness of joy and extreme anguish, and in fact has its essence in the direct experience of anubhava of them, still insofar as being directly experienced is the same as the kind of experience, bhoga. We may suppose that the joy and extreme anguish are results of the kind of experience only so far as they are the objects of the kind of experience. It is objected that birth and length of life and the kind of experience which are the result of extreme anguish are things to be rejected, since they are felt to be counteractive. But why should those fruitions which have merit as cause to be renounced? They have pleasure as the result, since they are felt to be coactive, nukula. Nor can their coactivity, which may be felt by everyone, be gainsaid by even 1,000 verbal communications and inferences. Moreover, neither joy nor extreme anguish can exist without the other. For while joy is being received, extreme anguish, since it cannot be driven off, may also fall to one's lot, because the two have separate causes and because they have separate forms. In reply to this, he says, and just adds this: although ordinary individuals at the time when there is pleasure in objects are not conscious of them as counteractive, still yogins are conscious of this counteractiveness. How can this be accounted for? 15. As being the pains which are mutations and anxieties and subliminal impressions, and by reason of the opposition and fluctuations of the aspects, guna, to the discriminating all is nothing but pain. For every one of this kind of experience of pleasure is permeated with passion and is dependent upon animate and inanimate instruments. In this case, we have a latent deposit of karma arising from passion. Likewise also, a man hates the instruments of pain and becomes infatuated with the instruments of infatuation. Thus, there is also a latent deposit made by aversion and by infatuation. In this sense, it has been said, enjoyment is impossible unless one has killed some living creature. Therefore, there is also the latent deposit of karma, affected by killing, belonging to the body. Thus it has been said, undifferentiated consciousness, avidya. Its pleasure in an object of sense, that which is the subsidence of the organs, because of their satiation with enjoyments is pleasure. After there has been a craving, the failure to subside in pain, and by application of the organs to enjoyments, one cannot make oneself free from thirst for enjoyment. Why is this? Since passion increase because of the application to enjoyments, and the skill of the organs also increases. Therefore, application to the enjoyment of pleasure is not a way of approach to freedom from thirst for objects. Surely one is aiming at pleasure and permeated by objects is sunk in the deep bog of pain, like the man who, while in fear of the scorpion's poison, is bitten by the poisonous snake. This is the so-called painfulness of mutation. It is counteractive. Even in the condition of pleasure, it hinders the yogin himself. Now, what is the painfulness of anxiousness? Everyone has the experience of anxiousness. It is permeated by aversion and is dependent upon inanimate and animate instruments. Here we have the latent deposit of karma arising from aversion, and a man yearning for the instruments of pleasure throbs in the body and the organs of speech, and the central organ, manas, sense it, then aids or cha, thwarts others by aiding them, or by injuring them, it amasses right actions and wrong actions. This latent deposit of karma is the result of greed and infatuation. For this reason, it is called painfulness of anxiousness. But what is the painfulness of subliminal impressions? There is a latent deposit of subliminal impressions of pleasure arising from the experience of pleasure, and there is a latent deposit of subliminal impressions of pain arising from the experience of pain. Thus, analogously, while the fruition of the karmas is under experience, there is, on the other hand, an accumulation of a latent deposit of karma. Thus, this stream of pain from time without beginning, spreading wider and wider, agitates even the yogin because its essence is counteractive. Why is this? It is because a wise man is like an eyeball. How? Oh, just as a thread of wool fallen upon the eyeball by its touch gives pain, but not so when it falls upon other parts of the body. So that these pains from subliminal impressions hinder the yogin only, who is like an eyeball, but not any other perceiver. And I guess I will stop for the time. Namaste. We mention each other.